In a world full of chaos and distraction, there is one thing we often forget: our ability to shape our own well-being. Managing emotions, finding peace, and reducing stress aren't just traits. They're skills we can cultivate. Today, let's explore how we can take control of our inner world and live with more clarity and purpose.
In life, there's one thing we often overlook: how much of our well-being and emotional state can be cultivated as a skill. Think about it for a moment. Managing stress, regulating emotions, and finding balance in the chaos of everyday life aren't just innate abilities. They're skills, and like any skill, they can be learned, developed, and refined over time. We all have moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's the pressure of deadlines, the expectations of others, or the constant barrage of distractions from our phones. It can feel like we're barely keeping our heads above water. But what if I told you that the key to thriving in these moments lies not in controlling the external world, but in mastering your internal world? What if the answer isn't about changing your circumstances, but changing how you relate to them? This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness isn't some esoteric concept reserved for monks or spiritual practitioners. It's a practical tool that anyone can use to improve their mental well-being. At its core, mindfulness is about awareness. It's about paying attention to your present experience without being overwhelmed by it. Most of us go through life on autopilot. We react to things without even realizing it. Someone cuts us off in traffic and we feel a surge of anger. Our boss gives us critical feedback and we immediately feel defensive. These reactions happen so quickly that we don't even notice them until we're in the thick of our emotions. But with mindfulness, we can start to create a gap between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting automatically, we can observe what's happening within us, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, and choose how to respond. This simple act of observation gives us a sense of control. We're no longer at the mercy of our emotions. We're able to step back, take a breath, and decide how we want to engage with the world. Let's bring this down to a concrete example. Think about a situation where you felt anxious. Maybe it's public speaking, a job interview, or a difficult conversation. What's the typical response? For most people, it's to fight the anxiety. We feel the nervousness in our stomach, our heart races, and our immediate reaction is to resist it. We tell ourselves, I shouldn't feel this way, or I need to get rid of this anxiety. But in doing so, we're actually making the emotion stronger. Mindfulness offers a different approach. Instead of fighting the anxiety, we can acknowledge it. We can say to ourselves, okay, I feel anxious right now. And then instead of trying to push it away, we allow ourselves to feel it without judgment. We notice the butterflies in our stomach, the tension in our shoulders, and we let it be. We don't have to like it, but we don't have to resist it either. When you stop resisting your emotions, something interesting happens. They lose their power over you. That anxiety you were so afraid of, it starts to dissipate on its own. By simply observing it, by allowing it to be there without fighting it, you create space for the emotion to move through you. It's no longer stuck. You're no longer stuck. But mindfulness is only one part of the equation. The other part is how we frame our experiences. The stories we tell ourselves about what's happening in our lives have a huge impact on how we feel. Two people can experience the same situation and have completely different reactions, simply because of the way they interpret it. Let's go back to the example of public speaking. For one person, the anxiety they feel before stepping on stage is debilitating. They see it as a sign that they're not prepared, that they're not good enough, and that they're going to fail. But for another person, that same anxiety can be interpreted as excitement. They recognize that the butterflies in their stomach are simply their body getting ready for action. It's the same physical sensation, but the story they're telling themselves is different, and that makes all the difference. This is what's known as reframing. It's the ability to take a situation and see it from a different perspective. Instead of thinking, I'm going to fail, you can reframe it as, this is an opportunity to grow. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, you can reframe it as, I'm learning and improving every day. These small shifts in perspective can have a profound impact on how we experience life. Now let's talk about the science behind emotional regulation. Research has shown that our emotions, especially the negative ones like anxiety, anger, and frustration, have a relatively short lifespan. When we experience a negative emotion, it tends to peak within 90 seconds. After that, it starts to fade away, unless we keep feeding it with our thoughts. This is where mindfulness and reframing come into play. When you're mindful, you can observe the emotion without adding to it. You can feel the anxiety without thinking about all the reasons why you should be anxious. You can experience anger without replaying the situation in your mind over and over again. And when you combine mindfulness with reframing, you can shift your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right. You can remind yourself that emotions are temporary, that they don't define you, and that you have the power to choose how you respond. This doesn't mean that negative emotions won't arise. They will. But when you learn to manage them effectively, they no longer control your life. You're able to experience them, let them pass, and move on. One of the most powerful tools for reframing your experience is gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing in your life to what's already here. It's easy to get caught up in the things we don't have, the promotion we didn't get, the vacation we can't afford, the relationships that didn't work out. But when we focus on what we do have, it changes everything. Think about a time when you've been stuck in traffic, frustrated by the delay. In that moment, it's easy to spiral into negative thoughts. But what if you took a different approach? What if you paused and thought about all the things that are going right in your life? You have a car to drive, a job to go to, and people in your life who care about you. Suddenly the traffic doesn't seem so bad. In fact, it becomes an opportunity to reflect on all the good things you have. Gratitude is a form of mindfulness because it requires you to be present and aware of what's happening in your life right now. It helps you shift your focus from lack to abundance, from frustration to contentment. And when you practice gratitude regularly, it rewires your brain to focus on the positive, making it easier to handle life's challenges with grace and resilience. At the end of the day, building resilience is about practice. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when it's hard. It's about being kind to yourself when you stumble and celebrating the small victories along the way. Mindfulness, reframing, and gratitude are not things you do once and forget about. They're practices that you incorporate into your daily life. And the more you practice, the stronger you become. The more you practice, the more resilient you become. Over time, you'll find that the things that used to overwhelm you no longer have the same power. The situations that used to trigger you no longer have the same effect. You've built the mental and emotional muscles to handle life's challenges with grace and ease. In a world that's constantly changing, where challenges and distractions are a part of everyday life, the power to find peace, focus, and resilience is always within us. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded in the present moment, while reframing allows us to shift our perspective and see things in a new light. And when we combine these tools with gratitude, we create a life that's aligned with peace, clarity, and purpose. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed, remember that you have the power to change your experience. You have the power to choose how you respond to life. It's not about controlling the external world, it's about mastering your internal world. And that's a skill that anyone can learn.
Mastering your emotions is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong practice. Remember, each day offers a new opportunity to grow, to learn, and to find peace amidst the chaos. Thank you for watching. And if this resonated with you, be sure to subscribe for more insights on mastering the mind and living with purpose.